Soft toys are one of the first toys children get, and those toys are often the ones that stay with them for years to come. Basic safety requirements for soft toys include age suitability, checks for structural integrity, and of course, regular cleaning and maintenance. It's important to say that both factory-produced toys as well as those handmade toys that you can buy need to be tested. This is the responsibility of the seller. However, since ultimately it is about safety of young children, I do urge buyers of toys to also pay special attention to these things. Now, let's start with age recommendations. Babies under 6 months of age ideally should not have any soft toys in the area where they sleep, because having many plush and soft toys around them while they sleep could increase the risk of sudden infant death syndrome. And also toys which are not suitable for that young age could end up being under them as they are facing towards them, and then the flow of air could be more difficult and therefore cause some issues. So no long pile fur, no many toys in the crib. So if you can, put those toys away somewhere nice on the shelf until the child can sit or can control neck and head so that they can control position of their body in relation to that toy. For a bit older kids, so when we come to toddler age, it is the prime age for soft toys because they do come to life. Like everything else that I've shared with you, any toys that include small detachable parts are not suitable for children under the age of 3. And then, of course, for all ages who might be playing with soft toys, it is important that there are no loose seams, that there's no access to the stuffing, and that there's all the general rules for safety are observed. When I talk about small parts, in soft toys, there are mostly eyes, noses, buttons, any kind of accessory on the toy that could lead to problems. But there are many guidelines at the moment for manufacturers on how to make this safer for younger children. Now, the safest option for you, if you're buying and looking around the store, is the embroidered eyes. So here's an example of how that looks like. So those eyes are not made out of small plastic pieces that can eventually be pulled out, but actually are part of the material. So there is no risk of choking or of that small part ending somewhere in the nose or ear or elsewhere. However, what is still most common is those plastic eyepieces and nose and buttons that can be stitched to the toy. There are, of course, good practices in terms of how to stitch it correctly onto the toy that it's safe, but even with the safest possible strategy used to attach it over time, with intense playing, if that's a favorite toy and has years and years of play and several washes, those strings that attach it together could become damaged. So over time, the risk increases, and it is really important to do regular checks. Now, moving on to material. Material the toy is made out of is important because most younger children will, when they play, hug the toy, bring that toy closer to their face, and use those intense and frequent contact with their skin. So, as a rule of thumb, put equal care into toy selection as you would put into quality of the skin products that you choose for your child, because chances are it will end up on their skin. So I'm now talking about materials of the toy. So is it soft organic cotton material, or is it polyester or some other synthetic material? Whilst we're talking about that, please remember that soft toys, plush toys, also have a tendency to collect under, and all the allergens that are usually in the air, they get stuck on these long pile furry toys, and often can lead to coughs, and it is around the mouth and nose. So if your child is increasingly coughing because of allergies, you might want to put your toys to a wash and drying cycle just to see if that will work. Talking about regular checking, of course, all toys that your child plays with, you need to check regularly to make sure that they're still as safe as when you bought them. So when we talk about checking of soft toys, there are two things that you need to check. First one being all the decorative elements. So this is a wild category. Because soft toys come in all shapes and colors and sizes. There are often some ribbons, bows, anything that is long and kind of loose off the toy could be a strangulation hazard. So please be very careful. Any cords or strings, any bows that can be released, strings shouldn't be longer than 22 centimeters. This is because it poses a risk of strangulation, and young children don't yet know how to detangle themselves from it, so you wouldn't want that risk anywhere near. Then we also have buttons, badges, sequins, glitter parts, anything that can come off that can become a small object or a small part, which is then a choking risk. So please be very careful. When you're checking it, you're going to try and detach it with slight movements, maybe a little bit of force, depending on how your child plays with their toys. Now, second thing that you're going to look at when you're checking are any extra functional parts. This could be as simple as zippers or closures, which shouldn't have any sharp edges or ability to catch their finger and damage skin, all the way to sound movement, light extras that could all come from battery compartments or charging compartments. These should be safely stored inside a toy, not somewhere where your child can get to them. Also, those battery compartments need to be screwed in, not broken, glued, or whatever makeshift option. Finally, any exposed wires from those boxes shouldn't be accessible to your children, of course. Stuffing and filling, or whatever you want to call the insides of the toy, no child should ever have access to the stuffing or filling. That can happen through any weak spots in seams, any loose stitching, usually around the arms, legs, or hoofs, or whatever the toy has. So check those edges to see if the seams are still near and tight or they're slowly falling apart. Stuffing is usually safe. However, we know with manufacturing that, lately, year after year, processes try to optimize the costs, try to cut the corners. So I cannot for sure say that stuffing and filling that toys are made out of, all of them, are actually safe options for your children, especially not if they are still prone to eating things or exploring with their mouth. Finally, let's talk about maintenance of soft toys. So to keep them safe, to keep them clean, we need to, first of all, know what it says on the care label. Usually, manufacturers are pretty good at telling you how to clean that toy, what is the temperature that you should put it on a wash, and are you actually supposed to wash it? I would also add to this to inspect all of these attachments that I've talked about after each wash. That is because during the wash, things can get loose or broken. So you want to know that before you give that fresh, clean toy to your child. In terms of how often we wash toys, that depends on their use, of course. So if the soft toy finds its way out into the mud, it will of course need more regular wash. And if it is the most favorite toy, something that is maybe near the mouth often, that might need a frequent wash as well. But general rule of thumb for average toy would be around every 3 months, I would say. Finally, watch for any wear and tear, especially those favorite toys that are always around your children. They will their structural integrity will deteriorate quicker. So you will need to keep a clear eye on it, and as soon as you see some kind of stitching falling apart, please react as soon as possible. And when any repairs aren't possible, it's time to replace the toy, retire it, send it away on a trip, or find a similar one that could replace that.